Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Pat Tarpey, Executive Director of the Lake Winnipesaukee Association, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this project before I turn it over to Mike Fowler, who's Director of the Department of Public Works in Meredith. So this project is a result of a watershed management plan that was completed for the Lake Waukewan watershed. Back in 2005, a management plan had been done for the lake's watershed, but there have been changes with EPA and guidelines since that time, so we applied for and completed an update to that plan last September. And as part of the process for that plan, a watershed survey was conducted, and over 60 sites were identified around Lake Waukewan and Lake Winona as needing some type of mitigation to reduce pollutant loading to the lake. And just to clarify, Lake Waukewan is on the state's list of impaired waters, which is why this was important. It's a drinking water source for the town of Meredith. So anything we can do to reduce the amount of sediment and nutrients getting into the lake is a good thing. Out of those sites, as I said, there were over 60, and we drilled it down to a top 20 sites on Waukewan, and then we drilled it down further to a top 6. And this was one of the top 6 sites identified as contributing either a lot of sediment or a lot of nutrients. And in your handout has a bit of a description and the pictures of pre-existing conditions. So issues with this site were associated with surface erosion, a little shoulder erosion. This was a gravel parking lot, and then there would be sometimes plowing in the winter would be stored here, and you can see there's a catch basin, so everything would melt, stormwater runoff, go into the catch basin and outlet directly into the lake with no treatment. And it was estimating 10.5 tons of sediment per year could be going into the lake, as well as almost 9 pounds of phosphorus and 18 pounds of nitrogen. Our concern with phosphorus, fresh water, is that it contributes to plant growth in the lake. It contributes to algae and cyanobacteria. Waukewan is listed as impaired for cyanobacteria. So with that, I'm going to let Mike talk about what the recommended actions were and more details about the design and implementing.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Fowler, Public Works Director. We had a few meetings leading up to this, and as Pat said, we kind of narrowed it down to this site. After looking at it, we realized that we could change a few things. We had a big fence here, so it didn't allow snow to be dumped over the guardrail. We couldn't push over the high fence that was here. You know, there is a treatment swale back here. There is also, it was all gravel, 90% gravel. So the cars coming in and out, constantly turning. When the rain happened, it would just go right to the catch basin. So we sat down, we took a look at everything. The basin was in need of repair anyway, so it kind of worked out to be a good little project for the town and Pat and everyone. So we decided to go after it, and we dug out the parking lot. We put in gravels to support the pavement. We paved the entire thing. We took down the fence. We loam and seeded behind it, and we put the guardrail in. We also dug out the site right there and cleaned up a lot of debris. There was a big mound there with rocks, and that allowed the rain garden to be installed. And it was about almost 4.5 feet deep, 5 feet deep, I guess. It's on the plan there. There's a cross-section plan, but so we repaired the basin. It's a brand new basin. We had a couple of pipes coming into it, and one of the key features in the basin was that if you look inside, there's a shoe that goes over the outlet. So a lot of the oils, when the water level in the basin rides up, it doesn't flow out. The oils, if they're lighter than water, they stay on top and they sit there, and it's another form of treatment before that goes into the lake. And then we have a pretty extensive catch basin cleaning schedule. And so that's clearly on the list every year to be sucked out and cleaned out, and remove any sediment that's in it. So I don't know what else to add, but I think we covered everything.
Paved swale.
And the other thing we did was, that's true, we allowed the paved swale to actually, instead of going into the basin, to go into the rain garden. So that would actually treat any type of runoff that's happening. I'm sure some people see the silt that's actually coming from the house that was constructed up the road. That's not coming from the road, so but that's an issue.
Yeah.
So the catch basin needs to be serviced periodically?
Every year, yeah. It's just on a routine yearly cleaning, and I try to do it in spring, right after the winter sand. This is a low salt area. It's also a high traffic area and a high speed area in the wintertime, and we get a lot of drifting. If any of you have traveled down here through the wintertime, we can get upwards of a foot of snow after, just from the lake blowing, or more. So we try to keep it clean, and being that it's a low salt area, we don't use much salt. We do have to use some sand to keep the traffic safe. So we try to limit it, but it does make its way to the basin, so we have to keep it clean. So
this has been through one winter so far? It's been through winter?
yes.
Except for the rain garden.
Say that again?
How much material came out of it?
I don't, to be honest with you. We hire a private company to come in and clean them out, and so you can get anywhere from a yard, half a yard, depends, of sand and some debris. You're going to get some debris coming in from the other culverts and some wash along the railroad, and it's all part of it. But we stop it there. So you got to.
Yeah, a couple of questions. How does this, whatever you call this back here, this water runway, how does that play into it? You plow the snow over this?
Well, it allows the snow, instead of the deposit here, we can actually deposit it over the guardrail, which allows, people do use this in the wintertime. So
Plow this.
yeah, we do plow it, and
And you put the snow over there.
yeah, we can deposit there. I mean, your best treatment swell is a grass line treatment swell, and the inlet to that culvert's over in the corner over there. So that helps. I mean, most of the snow is pretty clean anyway.
And that water is the same?
It'll actually go into a culvert and come into this basin.
Okay, and then the water flowing down
And the
here
water
comes
flowing
into the
down
rain
there
garden.
goes into the rain garden. Yeah. Sure.
Wintertime, the predominantly northwest and west winds drive a lot of snow and ice, snow up here on the roadway.
Correct.
Would it help to put plastic, recycled plastic fencing up there to reduce some of that?
We've done a few things. Two schools of thought on that. Usually when you put the plastic fence along the guardrail, it drops everything in the road. So we've actually gotten to the point where we actually leave the berm up, and the way it's shaped, we've gotten the snow to go completely over the road and dump on this side. So it depends how much snow we get and what we can do. But the other thing that's happening too is, you notice if you drive by, the trees are growing along the lakefront. So 5-6 years ago, there wasn't hardly any trees along this. So they're starting to grow up, and that's helping shield the snow as well. The trees along the edge of the road,
Yeah.
they're actually helping shield the
To
snow
break
as
up
well.
the
Right.
pattern? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So this project was funded through DES, through their local source water protection program, and because Lake Waukewan is a drinking water source, it was eligible. But UNH Stormwater Center provided the design. You have a copy of the design in the handouts. And they came and inspected all the work, and everything's been done to design. We've had 2 recent heavy rain events, a week ago Friday and last night. Mike says last night was much worse than last Friday, but the rain garden, if you want to look at it, you're not supposed to have standing water in it for longer than 24 hours, ideally. I was here at noon, and that was looked just like that. So it's been 2 weeks since we planted the rain garden. It was left, you have a picture in your handout, over the winter it was left with just the stone and
Filter fabric.
Yeah. And if you want to describe, there's a under drain pipe.
Yeah, that little green cap that's in the middle right there, that's a 6-inch under drain that actually goes down, takes a 90, and that's actually plumbed into the basin itself. So it's supposed to drain down through, and all that material is supposed to treat the water, and then the under drain picks it up. In the event that it gets too high and we do get a lot of rain, it can run right through the top cap and go down and take care of it. So I think there's like 2 feet of stone on the bottom of that too.
Yeah, and then there's
stone.
okay, and then there's 2 feet of what they called a biosoil mix, and so that mix was 60% sand, 20% mulch, 20% loam. So that's the makeup of the soil that's in there. And then the plants are all meant to exist and thrive in wet and dry conditions. Our consultant came out and designed for the rain garden and provided the list of plants. And so far it's been 2 weeks, they're looking good, and it's looking good through these 2 recent rainstorms that we have. The other piece of the project is the plunge pool, or rock.
We did, on the outlet of the culvert too, we ended up just putting a little stone riprap there to help when the water comes out. It breaks it up a little bit and doesn't wash the sand. In the event of a major rainstorm, it's going to wash a little bit. We can't help that, but for the nominal rain, it will help disperse that water before taking the...
That's advertised in the drawing as a plunge pool.
Yep.
You're not going to plunge very much
No.
into those stones.
No.
It's like the philosophy.
How much was the grant?
The grant was a little over $16,000, which covered not only this work but some of the other pieces of the project, and the town contributed labor.
Yep.
So right now we're up to about $20,000 that it has cost.
On this side.
Yep.
And then it's a really nice project. You need to put in some money to get a sign here. That it's,
Oh no, we are going to
that's
put a
coming,
sign up.
okay.
That's coming,
It's
yes.
in the 16,000 now.
Yeah, we have extra. The town contributed some funds. The Windy Waters.
I
cons-
have some concerns about the finished grading here. It looks to me like you have indeed caught the water off this pavement, but it doesn't look to me like you've caught the water off all of that pavement. It looks like it'll go first into that grate. Has anyone actually been out here in the rain or heavy rain to see what happened?
I have. I'm not sure. It wasn't necessarily designed to capture all that. It was. I know it was designed mainly because this had been such an issue.
There's another double the surface area you're intercepting.
Yeah.
And
Well-
all you'd have to do is regrade by the little left corner there to make sure it comes in here first.
You also have to take into consideration the size of the rain garden and the amount of water. It can't treat everything.
We
Right. You're
just
we
gonna
were
float
restricted
everything
by
and wash
that
it away.
pole, the telephone
But
pole.
I'm not quite convinced that there's, that much concern about the health of the plants, for instance. If they get a little too much water or a little too often, that you might not just get a shovel out here and regrade it so that goes in here and gets it too, just as a suggestion. The other thing that's
We could probably do
kind
that.
of strange is the way this drawing shows the invert for the pipe going out to the lake is below the rain garden. So anything that gets into that culvert or into that drain doesn't get into here.
Correct.
And that would seem counterintuitive, that you might want to pick up that water, filter it first, and then send it on
Well,
through.
you got to understand something, that it's not everything. The rain garden's only treating a certain portion of what comes off here. What's also running out and going in, we wanted to treat too. So it's also a second stage of treatment. That's why we put
Where's
that.
the second stage?
If you look in that basin, you'll see
There's nothing in
the
this.
shoe that's on top of, that goes around the pipe.
Well,
Yeah.
that's actually just to get the water from beneath the oil. That's all that's doing, from what I can tell. The actual water itself is always draining out of here into there,
Right.
or bypassing this,
Yeah, or coming in from the culvert that's up by the railroad tracks.
which also bypasses this.
Correct.
And you do that. You could double the size of this garden within the space you had out there. I'm puzzled by why they didn't.
That wasn't, I thought that wasn't town property over there. I thought there was an issue.
Yeah, and there was
setbacks.
another pole here. At the time, we had 2 poles. Telephone pole constricted the site, and there was another pole. So I don't know what happened to the other pole.
Railroad right away.
Well, it would. Yeah, but it doesn't extend out to here. It's over there by the edge of this swale, so you could still double this area. So when it works so well, that's what you'll do next.
Yeah, that'll be the next project.
And then lastly, did anyone think about doing porous pavement here instead of
Yes.
collecting
We did.
it and putting it?
Yes.
And the answer to that was,
It's labor. It's a lot of labor to keep it clean.
so it's a town maintenance
That's a
question.
maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
not only that, but to make that work, you'd be excavating out about 4 feet
Stone.
plus.
Yeah, we didn't have the money to do it either.
Reservoir to receive water.
And I'm assuming this is the last parking space because you can't get a Suburban in here. Right?
We could, but you may not like the flowers after we're done parking.
There was an argument, I'm sure, between parking space versus rain garden space, or what happened with that?
It was done in the existing footprint
Right.
of the parking
So
area.
the parking came to here already,
Yes.
and you just didn't mess with that issue of, hey, let's get another 2 spaces, we sure need them. Fascinating. Good luck with the sign.
Thanks.
And nobody's been here in the rain,
I have.
so where's the water go?
Down into the catch basin.
Which is really counterproductive.
No, it went into the rain garden.
Yeah, it went in the
there,
rain
went down, and
garden.
went into
No,
the
but you
basin.
didn't say that. Does it actually flow into the rain
Yes,
garden?
yes.
What's your name, sir? What's your name?
Excuse me. Vigilant civil engineer.
Thank
No,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, no, it worked the way it was
Go with
supposed
the rain
to.
garden, or only some of it? You were here, I wasn't.
I came at a point in the heavy
Everything that's
rain.
coming off the parking lot and everything that's coming down the side of the street goes into the rain garden.
But the water on the street goes into the grate.
Coming this way, and whatever doesn't run off the street at this point and get into the swale goes into the catch basin.
Mike, don't you think it's kind of sheet flow off the road, and actually it's not all getting to the grate. It's more apt to
Well,
come over here.
the road's crowned, so it's coming into the swale. There's a little bit that's going to get into the grate. We can't treat it all.
The height of land is the railroad. Yeah. And some of it's coming this way, but it's not all going to make it to that basin.
Here's the deal, right?
I got to remember I'm on camera.
Yes.
A hole. This is downhill. This is higher. The water comes right down here off the hill into the grate, not into the rain garden. It needs to have some stuff on the side lower to get in there.
I don't think the rain garden was necessarily calculated for all that runoff.
Well,
It was not.
I'm trying to maximize the usefulness of our 16 grain.
Can I make a comment here?
Yeah.
I think it's important to realize that the state of New Hampshire owns that railroad right away, which is nominally 66 feet wide, and this is a very cramped area. I think the people involved, all the people involved, deserve a lot of credit for being able to do what they have in a really tight corner here.
I'd agree with that. Look at the house down the street that's narrower than it is tall, right? So yes, but the finish, to get all the water to go, or as much as possible to go through the rain garden, would seem to be an effort worthwhile.
Can be considered. Yeah.
So what is the follow-up now? Will you wait a year or two and then retest the water? to
Could
see
you
if there's
speak
a
up a little
positive
so we could
impact?
hear you over here? Or repeat the
She
question?
wants to know follow-up. So basically, there's a operations and maintenance agreement for this site, which DPW and Parks and Rec are responsible for. Lake Waukewan, there are volunteers who test the lake every summer. So they test it for, I think, once a month VLAP, June, July, August. So that data is used to look at trends in what in-lake levels of phosphorus are happening. So, and we want to see them going down. They're not very high now, but you know, this is one site of many that need to happen to start seeing the improvement we want to see.
So there'll be more than just this on Waukewan? There'll be several of these?
Hopefully, you know, it's a question of money, town funds, or other towns. There's 3 towns that have shorefront property on this lake. So it's a question of, yeah, getting grants, getting participation by the community's residents to agree to do whatever work needs to be done. Yeah. So what the plan does is it gives the communities and residents an action plan. There's numerous recommendations. There are on the ground recommendations such as this one. There's education and outreach. There's zoning or regulations. There's a lot of things that can be done. And we have Donna Van Ness here, who's chair of the Waukewan Watershed Advisory Committee. So that committee is hopefully going to oversee, as much as they can, implementation of the plan. Putting you on the spot.
Thanks, Pat.
Larry, did you have a question?
Could you, what part did Lake Winnipesaukee Association play in the overall scheme here?
All right, well, we were the organization that applied for the original grant for the watershed management plan and project manager of that, and then worked with the town, and LWA applied for the grant to the source water protection program. So we were basically project manager, but partnered with the town of Meredith to implement the project.
Okay.
Yep. Well, as part of our watershed management planning process, which is always the first step, we do have the town planners at the table. We have Conservation Commission, and we try and get the selectmen, zoning and ordinance, yeah. So the stakeholders who can implement the changes, as you're discussing, they've been at the table. It's just, you know, it's a process, and we haven't completed them all around the lake yet, but this is, you know, one community we've worked with.
Think you're making progress?
I do. I think we're making a lot of progress. Yep. Any other questions? Comments? No? All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks.